Hey everyone, David C. Anderson here coming at you from the Knife Center. And it's Wednesday again, so we're back to show you some new items using this looser format that we tried out last week. Love to know what you guys think of this down in the comments, but in the meantime, let's get into it. So the first item I'm going to show you right now, you saw it last week, we did a full-fledged video on these, but we're proud to introduce these new Knife Center exclusive Chris Reeve and KnifeCenter models. And I've got all the small ones right here because the large ones you guys have been blowing through pretty quickly. So as far as we can tell, we've never seen a fully coated KnifeCenter model from Chris Reeve before. It makes us really happy to have these as our exclusives. And it has a KG gun coat finish on these knives. But like I said, I've got the small ones here. We've got the drop point blade, as well as the Tonto and the Insingo blade shape. So you got all the options across the range of this knife. It's a great little knife, especially in this size, very easy to carry, and it fits very well into the hand. It's kind of a 3.5 finger knife for me, but you get that great Chris Reeve fit and finish. The build quality is just impeccable, and we don't know how long these guys are gonna last, so if you want one, you should get one quick. Next up is another knife on the higher end, and that's the Liong Mah Designs Zulu Flipper. Now, as you can tell, there's something a little bit different about this knife. Even though it is a flipper, you actually see a nail nick on this blade. And what's cool about this is it's sort of inspired by old school penknife slip joint blades, only it's scaled up for, modern use basically. These are made by Reeve Knives in China for Liong Mah, and if you've never experienced what Reeve can do, they're doing really good stuff, truly world-class construction for sure. And there's a few options along this range of this new Zulu model. We've got a black canvas micarta inlay, as well as green and natural canvas. So you can get any one of those to suit your style. But it adds a cool kind of broken in look. Kind of like, some people will pay a lot for those pre-ripped denim jeans, but these canvas micarta inlays here kind of give that look right off the bat, which is pretty cool. M390 steel, ball bearing pivot, so it flips very well. And of course you can use the nail nick to open it too if you wish. Although it's easier to flip, let's be honest. Other cool thing about this knife is we get a deep carry pocket clip, it's reversible, and we have a ceramic ball that actually acts as the pinch point rather than a piece of machined titanium or a folded clip. Offers a pretty neat thing there. You don't see it too often outside of especially custom knives, so it's really cool to get this on a production piece. So next up is a couple of new steel will models. And they do a lot of good things both on the budget end as well as on the higher end stuff. So we've got two actually that just came in this week that hit both of those ranges. The first is the Shaola Flipper. And this is a budget range model with D2 steel and G10 handle scales. Got a few different colors here. I think this one right here is one of the better looking ones. Got red G10 and a black stone-washed blade. But there's also black handles with black stonewashed, black with satin, as well as a blue handle with a satin blade as well. So you got options there, and it's cool to see those different colors than just black blades. It's something I harp on a lot around here, so I'm glad to see this sort of thing on this knife. There's plenty of blade here, about 3.4 inches. As I said, D2 steel. It's got a bit of a clip point, kind of a straight clip with an upswept tip. But still, it's not so high that it's going to be difficult to use every day. And I think this would make a great, affordable EDC. It flips very well. No problems whatsoever. Reversible deep carry pocket clip folded over. Liner lock, as you can see. But one of the nice little touches that you actually, if you look on the back towards the where a backspacer would normally be, we have a couple of standoffs. And you'll notice this one right here on the tip is a little bit smaller. Instead of a lanyard hole, that's your lanyard attachment point. So if I hold it like so, you can see that that small one is backed up by a larger standoff right underneath. That way you can wrap your lanyard around that small piece and it's not going to come into contact with the blade because it's protected by that other standoff. It's a real cool way to kind of still have that lanyard functionality without mucking up the side of the blade with an extra hole. Especially on a narrow tapering handle like this, you have to find room for that hole. So this is how they were able to get around that in a pretty cool way, I think. Next up is a new higher end model from Steel Will, and that's the Apostate Flipper. Now from the front, it may look like some of their other things. You've got G10 handles, but we actually have S35 VN steel on this as opposed to the D2 or the M390 that they use on some other things. But flipping it over on the back, we actually see a titanium frame lock, which again, this is sort of branching out for steel will. Apart from that, it's got all those stereotypical features that this type of knife, quote unquote, should have. We get a replaceable lock bar interface right here. And on the inside, it even works as the over travel arrestor because you do have a little bit of a tab that sticks into the handle. Keeps you from pushing that out too far when you go to unlock. It does have some thumb studs on here, but they don't work great. I say that, but then it flipped open real easy right there. You do have a nice thick blade on this, so this would be a heavier duty knife for sure. I don't have my micrometers here in front of me, but there's almost 5/32 of an inch, it looks like. It's approaching that anyway. And the flipping action is really solid. It does take a bit of a press on this model here, but it fires out and it just has a really substantial feel from the moment you press it down. As far as colors go, I've got the green G10 with the satin blade here, but there's also a black G10 option as well as a black stonewash blade, and you can get that in any combination. Next up, we've got a couple of new Swiss Army knives that have just landed, and that's walnut versions of the Classic SD and the Hiker model. Both are really good models that kind of keep a different range of applications taken care of. Of course, your EDC with the Classic SD pops right onto your keychain. Same tools you know and love from the standard model, but you don't get the toothpick and tweezers because of those nice walnut wood handle scales. Then for more outdoorsy stuff, we have the Hiker model, which is going to take care of you whether you're hiking, as the name would suggest, but it's great for camping, taking hunting, any of that sort of thing. Again, same tool set as the standard model, but missing the toothpick and tweezers. What's cool about these models, especially with these wood handle scales, is they have a warm feel to them that just a standard Swiss Army knife just doesn't. Whether you're using the Celador scales with that plasticky feel, or the more premium A-Lox aluminum handled scales, this just has another feel to it, and it really branches out what a Swiss Army knife can be. A bit more classic, a bit more timeless. Next up is a new Skeletool variation from Leatherman, and this is the Skeletool RX. Now immediately you see we've got red handle scales, not scales, but a red frame, which is very cool. And it's red because this is a rescue variant. And the red helps denote that just right off the bat so you can see it visually. And you know if you're grabbing that one, you know you've got the rescue variant. But what makes it truly a rescue variant is the blade. And we've got a fully serrated blade here, made of 154 cm steel, as opposed to the partial serrated 420 HC on the standard models. Still one hand opening. It's nice to see that upgrade in the steel on this as well. You've got a nice blunt tip because for rescue operations, if you need to get in under a seat belt or remove some clothing, you don't want to accidentally be sticking into the person that you're actually trying to help. So that's a very good blade shape for that. Apart from that, it's the same Leatherman Skeletool all around. You got your nice set of pliers, you got your carabiner that doubles as a bottle opener, your cap lifter on the end, but we do see one little extra bit of difference on the bit insert. As opposed to a standard screwdriver bit, we actually have a carbide breaker tip on the end for glass breaking. One thing I did forget to mention about that red handle material is this is not just a painted finish, this is actually a Cerakote finish. So it's going to be very durable as well. It's going to hold up really nicely. It's not going to chip out like just a simple paint job would do. So keep sticking with me. I know I have a full table here, but next is one of the things that I've been very excited about ever since SHOT Show earlier this year, and that's the Kershaw Launch 9. Really cool little automatic knife, California legal because it has a very short blade, but it has all the things that make the Launch series great. An affordable price tag, made in the US, CPM 154 steel, and aluminum handles. Moreover, apart from just being California legal, I think this would make a great everyday carry option anywhere you can carry an automatic knife. It's got push button action on the side, and it's just really snappy action. All the Launch autos have had very good action up to this point, and this one's no exception. Even though it is a smaller blade, that might in fact actually help it because it has less mass to move, and it just flicks out really nicely. We've got a deep carry pocket clip and go on either side, so in addition to being small when you're actually using it, it's going to kind of hide away in your pocket as well, because that's a really subtle piece. So in addition to that Launch 9, we've also got a couple of new colors for the Launch 2 and the Launch 6. So the Launch 2, now we have a stonewash blade finish with a gray aluminum handle, And with the Launch 6, we've got a dark earth aluminum handle with a black DLC blade. So next up are two new knives that go out of their way to be really unobtrusive when you're carrying them. And they look very different, but they've actually got a lot of things in common, so I'm going to talk about them together. On top here, we've got the Michael Ziba MS3, and on the bottom is the Blink Blades Sphinx T. Both of these knives, as you can see pretty much straight away, they're pretty much unadorned. They're very simple overall, a very sleek aesthetic, but that plays into their favor because these are designed to be really good EDC knives in just about any environment. They're going to hide away in your pocket, be nice and slim, and hopefully not scare too many people if you're actually taking it out to open a package or do something simple EDC stuff like that. You know, some places just aren't quite as knife friendly, so these are both great options. I'll talk about the Blink Blades first. This is a titanium framed knife with a frame lock. It's got a black stonewashed finish on the frame as well as the trailing point Tonto blade. And let me see, we've got actually M390 steel on this. M390 steel on both of these knives, actually. It's got a hollow grind on this knife, and the finish looks really good, and it's accented by that machined clip with the purple finish. It creates a really different look. It's pretty unique in the market, I think, right now. Despite the trailing point and the rather abrupt angle, I think this is going to be pretty useful day to day. The point on this knife is going to be very usable when you're going to open things. And I used to kind of be skeptical of a Tonto blade for EDC uses until I actually tried one out for a while. And I found there were times where that kind of chiseling action you can get from the front can be very useful. Apart from that, Tontos are of course great for tactical uses, but this is not really a tactical knife. So this is going to give you more sort of an advantage for your utilitarian needs rather than your self-defense needs, that sort of thing. And as you can see, when you close the blade up, the blade disappears completely. All you see is the little bit of that tab that sticks out. And that's actually something that it shares in common with the Ziba knife. Both of them completely hide away, and all you've got is the little flipper tab. Front flipper for this guy. No, not a front flipper. It is on the back, so it is technically just a standard flipper. It's just sticking up rather than out. And then just the small flipper tab on the Ziba. Now the Ziba flips very nicely, very, very nicely actually, and I actually really enjoy flipping this out in a lighter flick like that. I've kind of talked about that when we've showcased this model before, but before this knife used to come with a Nitro V blade, which is our previous standard run, and we've also got several Damasteel blade variants of the MS3 left, so you can check those out as well, but this one is M390, and it's got titanium handles again. Really nice contouring, just kind of pencil thin, disappears, really cool little knife. Getting back to the Blink a little bit, it is a little bit harder to open, I found. I think it's gonna break in nicely though. Part of it's just adjusting to that flipper that sticks out the top rather than the flipper that sticks out, from the back of the spine. Either way, whichever one of these you choose, if you're into it, really cool, really subtle, and a little bit different than what a lot of people out there are carrying. So I think they're really cool. So now it's fixed blade time, which, as some of you who know me know, that's my favorite time. So the first up is a new ESEE, and this is the Ashley Game knife. And I said Emerson because this was designed by Ashley Emerson, and he's a big game hunter, the big game hunter who actually designed this blade. It's a shorter blade, but it being an ESEE, as you would expect, we get 1095 steel, micarta handles, and a really cool black stonewashed finish on this blade. Really similar to what you see across most of their camp lore models. I really like the shape of this knife overall. I love the curves. It's right up my alley. You've got a continuous curve on the edge, which is going to help it to slice really well. And it's short enough to maneuver, but it's thick enough to be, actually I'd say it's about the right thickness because it has enough thickness to be very strong, but with the full flat grind, it still cuts very well. And it's a little bit over 1/8 of an inch, just judging by my, my peepers here. Really solid design overall. Handle scales are a little bit on the thinner side. If you have thicker hands and you're looking to use this sort of as a do-everything bush knife, you might find that it's lacking just a little bit. But if you have smaller hands, that's going to work very well. But in either case, if you're using this for hunting, it's no problem whatsoever. You're not going to necessarily need that big gorilla grip like you might for a bushcraft or survival situation. You want it to be a nimble knife and more easily controlled, and there's certainly plenty of length for bigger hands, and it's just very nimble. It's going to hold very well, And like their Campler stuff, it does come with a nice leather sheath brown. Next up is an affordable Spyderco fixed blade, the Phil Wilson designed Bow River, which is now back in stock. Really cool handles on these. We've got a black and gray G10, 8CR13 MOV steel, which some people may poo-poo, but this is a very affordable knife. It's only a little bit over 30 bucks right now. And this was designed as a game knife. It would work well for hunting and fishing, as you would expect, but I think this knife works really cool in the kitchen as well. It's got enough of an offset that it would work on a cutting board very well. You're not going to hit your knuckles too badly. I also think because of the shape, in addition to working well on the cutting board, it would work well on a plate too, and these would make really cool steak knives. And that'd be an affordable way, at only a bit over 30 bucks a pop, you could get enough sets for your whole table and have a really unique, sorry, I hate that phrase, really unique, but you could have a very cool set of steak knives that's unlike any of your friends out there for not too much money. And it'd be a very cool addition overall. But if you want to carry it outside, this does come with a black leather sheath. Next up is something a bit more tactical, and that's the Bastinelli Creations Silent Slim. And these were made in Italy by Fox Knives for Bastinelli. This is a slim carrying design. As you can see, there's not too much girth here, which is going to make it easy to carry on your person if you need that sort of thing, and stays out of the way without adding too much bulk, but there's still plenty to hold on to. We've got a nice long blade, N690 steel. Let me just check the length here. Just under 5 inches. We're about 4 3/4. And it's a very usable shape. Certainly you've got a nice recurve here, which is going to add some cutting power, especially on the pull back stroke. Nice crown spine, a few different sections of jimping, which is really nice. Because of the way the blade swoops down here in concert with that jimping, it actually provides a really cool place to pinch up if you need to use the tip for some real delicate stuff. Because of that, I think this is also one that would transition okay to things like hunting or outdoor use. Not so much because you have a thicker handle, or you have a thinner handle, so it wouldn't be great for bushcraft or stuff where you're really bearing down on some wood, but it would get you through in a pinch, and having that little bit of extra utility there, that extra little bit of control is very nice. Speaking of control, on the back you've also got a couple of pinch point scallops right here, which are going to help you hold onto it in certain grips, certainly reverse grips, that sort of thing. And to carry this knife, comes with a really good Kydex sheath with a Blade Tech lock to keep it secure. Last up, it's Condor time, and we've got a bunch of new stuff this week. I've only got a couple of them, or a few of them here in front of me. In addition to these, we've got the Sighead Arrowhead set is now in, as well as the Tribal Roots knife, which are very cool. But I'm most excited by this, and that's the Plan A Bowie, which people have been clamoring for this ever since it was introduced as well. Probably not the most anticipated Condor of the year. I'd probably give that to the Pterosaur, but this one's certainly up there. Now, this is a really cool knife designed by Julio Diaz, who is from 710 Sheaths. More well known for his Kydex work, and he's only recently gotten into the knife making world. And this is one of his designs that Condor's come out with this year. I think there's 4 total. Nice long blade, 1075 steel, flat grind, and the handle is kind of inspired by kukris. We've got black micarta, and it's shaped really nicely. We got some nice swell, as well as the good flare at the pommel, which means this holds very nicely, both when you're choking up for smaller work, or back for chopping, brings the blade down a little bit. And being a Condor, it comes with actually no, most Condors come with a nice leather sheath, but being as this is a Julio design, it makes sense that this comes with a Kydex sheath. I think overall, if you're looking for there's a lot of great knives out there in this price range of this sort of style. The Becker BK9, the ESEE Hunglis both come to mind, but if you're looking for something a little bit different, this one could probably be worth you checking out. Next up is the Krakatoa folder with it looks black, but they actually call this Army Green micarta. And we get 1095 steel on this knife, and it is a folding Scandi ground bushcraft knife. Now you only get a scale on one side. It's other than that, it's sort of a thin frame lock design, but it actually gives you a fair amount of girth if you're going to be using this out in the wild. Fit and finish is kind of what you would expect from a Condor. It's not the best in the world, but it is a rough and tumble piece that's ready to put in a lot of hard work, and that's where your money's going with this knife. Finally, we've got the campsite axe in. This is a really good hatchet-sized camp axe. We got 2 colors right now, the tan and the green handles. kind of the same material that you've seen on the pterosaur knife, and it feels very good. Despite there not being too much swell on here, it doesn't feel like it's ever about to slip out of my hand. And we get a cool finish on the 1075 steel here. It's kind of it's not necessarily a black stone wash, but it's kind of similar, but it's a little more rustic than that, kind of more weathered almost. And these also come with a Kydex sheath. And if you look on the back, we do have enough width here to hammer with. We see kind of a checkered pattern rather than smooth. Not quite sure why they did that. There may be some kind of advantage to that. If you happen to know, let us know down in the comments. But it comes with a Kydex sheath, holds the thing very securely, and you have a loop here for belt carry, which can be reversed for either side. But what I really appreciate is you can still use the hammer pole with the sheath in place. So that's a lot safer than just swinging it about with the edge coming back towards your face. Great for pounding in tent stakes, cracking things open, whatever you need, and you can do it nice and safely with this guy, with the sheath in place. So that's the new stuff for today. Thanks for sticking with me, you guys. Again, we're trying out this new format where I'm a little more loose, a little more off the cuff for these new items videos. Make sure to let us know in the comments what you think of them. Meanwhile, you can keep up to date with our newsletters that have all these new items, as well as a few others that I didn't even get to show you. We send that out every week as well. And to get your hands on any of these, you know where to go. You got to click the link in the description to head over to KnifeCenter.com. See you guys.